Some places are built to save souls. Others were abandoned after too many souls simply refused to leave. Tonight, we journey deep into the haunting landscapes of South Carolina, to a place locals dare not approach after dark. A place where the whispers of the past are anything but silent. This is the story of the Chapel of Ease, a ruin that holds more than just memories. Our story begins in the 1700s, on St. Helena Island. For the affluent plantation families, living far from the bustling city of Charleston, the Chapel of Ease was a beacon of faith and community. It was a place for baptisms, weddings, and Sunday sermons, a symbol of civilization carved into the wild coastal landscape. Built from tabby, a type of concrete made from lime, sand, and oyster shells, it was designed to last. But history, as it often does, had other plans. The chapel served its purpose for decades, its walls echoing with hymns and prayers. But the tides of time were relentless. The Revolutionary War brought conflict to the island's doorstep. Then, a devastating forest fire in 1886 sealed its fate, leaving behind only a skeletal ruin, a silent testament to a bygone era. What remains today is an unforgettable sight. The tabby walls, scarred by fire and weathered by centuries of storms, stand defiantly against the sky. Ornate arched windows, now empty, stare out like hollow eyes over a yard filled with ancient gravestones. The majestic oak trees, draped in Spanish moss, cast long dancing shadows, creating an atmosphere that is both beautiful and deeply unsettling. During the day, it's a popular spot for photographers and history buffs, a picturesque ruin frozen in time. But when the sun begins to set, and the golden light gives way to twilight, the character of the place changes entirely. The beauty recedes, and an ancient, palpable dread begins to creep in. This is when the stories begin. The most common tales from the Chapel of Ease aren't of dramatic apparitions, but of subtle, unnerving experiences that prey on your senses. Visitors who dare to walk the grounds after dusk often report the distinct sound of footsteps crunching on leaves and gravel just behind them. They'll stop, turn, and find nothing but the empty path and the silent tombstones. The footsteps cease when they stop, and resume the moment they start walking again, always just out of sight. It's a relentless, personal haunting, as if an unseen companion is escorting them through the graveyard. Imagine the feeling, the cold knot of fear in your stomach as you quicken your pace, only to hear the invisible steps matching your own, getting closer and closer. Then there are the physical sensations. Numerous accounts describe a sudden, inexplicable cold spot in the humid southern air. It's followed by a chilling touch, like icy fingers brushing against an arm or the back of the neck. It's a fleeting contact, but it leaves a lasting impression of violation, a feeling that you are not alone, and that whatever is there can interact with the physical world. Others have reported seeing faint, ethereal lights, often described as blue or white orbs, drifting silently between the gravestones. They hover for a moment before vanishing, only to reappear in another part of the cemetery. Are they simple tricks of the light, or are they something more? Something watching from the darkness? There's a well-known local legend that serves as a warning to skeptics. The story goes that those who enter the ruins with a dismissive or disrespectful attitude often leave as terrified believers. People have been known to mock the ghost stories, to laugh loudly and challenge the spirits to show themselves. The response is often not what they expect. Instead of a ghostly figure, they're overcome by a sudden, overwhelming wave of pure panic, an irrational terror that grips them so intensely their only instinct is to run. They flee the grounds, sometimes without even knowing what they're running from, driven by a primal fear they can't explain. There have even been several documented reports of visitors fainting outright while exploring the ruins at night, succumbing to an unseen force or an overwhelming sense of dread. The Chapel of Ease has, unsurprisingly, become a magnet for paranormal investigators. Armed with EVP recorders, EMF meters, and thermal cameras, teams from all over the country have spent countless nights within these crumbling walls, hoping to capture proof of the afterlife. And many claim they have. Electronic voice phenomena, or EVPs, are among the most compelling pieces of evidence. Investigators will ask questions into the silence, and upon playing back the recordings, they discovered disembodied voices that weren't audible at the time. Sometimes, it's just whispers, too faint to understand, but other times, the voices are chillingly clear. Investigators have captured what sounds like a woman humming an old tune, a child giggling, and even direct responses to their questions. One of the most terrifying recordings is of a gruff male voice simply saying, "Get out." Perhaps even more disturbing are the personal experiences of these investigators. Several have reported hearing their own names whispered from the shadows when they were completely alone. Imagine standing in the dead of night, surrounded by graves, and hearing an unknown voice call out to you personally. It changes the experience from a general investigation to a terrifyingly intimate encounter. Others have felt the intense, prickling sensation of being watched from the darkened, empty windows of the chapel ruins, a feeling so strong they were convinced someone was hiding there, only to find no one upon inspection. But the horror doesn't always end when you leave the cemetery gates. Some of the most frightening accounts come from people who believe something followed them home. Visitors have described getting into their cars, shaken from their experience, and driving away, only to feel that they are still not alone. They'll glance in the rearview mirror and see nothing in the back seat, but the feeling of a presence is so overwhelming, it's almost suffocating. One man reported that after his visit, he drove 4 miles with every hair on his body standing on end, absolutely certain someone was sitting right behind him, just out of sight of the mirror. The presence, he said, only vanished after he crossed the bridge back to the mainland. It's a terrifying thought, that the spirits of the Chapel of Ease aren't bound to the consecrated ground, and can follow the living back into their world. So why is this place so active? What is the source of the haunting? Local lore and historians offer a few theories. The cemetery itself, known as a mausoleum yard, is unique. Many of the graves are above-ground brick vaults. Over the centuries, many of these vaults have crumbled and broken, exposing the burial sites within. Local legend holds that disturbing the final resting place of the dead is what has awakened the restless spirits. These aren't just any graves. They belong to the powerful and wealthy families of the antebellum South, people who were accustomed to being in charge. Perhaps, even in death, they resent having their eternal peace disturbed by tourists and ghost hunters. The very land itself may also play a role. St. Helena Island has a long and complex history, steeped in the traditions of the Gullah Geechee people, descendants of West and Central Africans who were enslaved on the plantations. Their culture is rich with stories of spirits, both benevolent and malevolent. Some believe the energy of the land, combined with the tragic history of slavery and the turmoil of war, has created a place where the veil between our world and the next is exceptionally thin. The fire of 1886 that destroyed the chapel is seen by some not just as a random accident, but as a traumatic event that trapped the spirits of those interred there, binding them to the scorched earth and ruined walls forever. It's this deep, layered history that makes the Chapel of Ease so much more than just another haunted spot. It's a place where the weight of the past is a physical presence. The old-timers on the island know this. They warn their children and grandchildren never to play near the ruins after sunset. They speak of it with a genuine reverence and fear. To them, it is not a tourist attraction. It is a place of restless souls that demand respect. The stories they tell aren't for entertainment. They are warnings passed down through generations. They've seen the looks on the faces of tourists who laughed on their way in and fled in terror on their way out. A place once consecrated for peace, for solace, for the celebration of life and the respectful mourning of its end, now stands as a stark and chilling reminder. A reminder that some places never truly become empty. The souls that once sought comfort within these walls may now be the very source of its terror. They linger in the shadows, whisper on the wind, and reach out from beyond the grave. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the unknown. If you crave more stories that explore the darkness at the edge of our world, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications for tales of the dark. Next time, we venture into the heart of a cursed forest, to a single, twisted tree that has been the site of unspeakable rituals and violent history. A place where the wood itself is said to scream. You won't want to miss it. Deep in the heart of New Jersey, hidden away from the bustling cities and quiet suburbs, stands a solitary, ancient oak tree. It doesn't look like much at first glance, just a gnarled, weathered tree standing alone in a field. But this isn't just any tree. Locals know it as the Devil's Tree, and they have a stark warning for anyone who finds it. Do not touch it. Do not disrespect it. And whatever you do, do not try to harm it. Because doing so, they say, invites a fate far worse than simple misfortune. The story of the Devil's Tree is steeped in a dark and violent history. Decades ago, long before the surrounding area was developed, this land was witness to unspeakable acts. Local legends whisper of brutal lynchings, with victims left hanging from its formidable branches. Others speak of a farmer who, in a fit of rage, murdered his entire family and then took his own life right beneath its shadow. Following these tragedies, the legends claim the site became a magnet for dark forces. Some stories suggest that cults and secret societies would gather here under the cloak of night, performing unspeakable rituals and dedicating the tree to demonic entities. Over time, these dark energies are said to have seeped into the very wood and soil, cursing the tree and the ground it stands on. Ever since, a palpable sense of fear has surrounded this place. It's a fear that has grown with each passing year, fueled by countless strange and terrifying accounts from those who dared to get close. What kind of accounts, you ask? Well, the phenomena reported around the Devil's Tree are as bizarre as they are chilling. People who drive past it often find their vehicles suddenly stalling for no apparent reason. Car engines die, headlights flicker and go dark, and radios fill with static. Modern technology seems to be particularly susceptible. Cell phones lose their signal, batteries drain in an instant, and digital cameras fail to capture a clear image, producing only distorted, glitchy pictures. But perhaps the most unsettling physical anomaly is the warmth. Even on the coldest winter days, when the ground is frozen solid and covered in a thick blanket of snow, the base of the Devil's Tree remains clear. Locals swear that the ground around it is mysteriously warm to the touch, as if something unnatural is generating heat from within the earth or from the tree itself. Some have even reported seeing a strange, faint steam rising from the soil at its roots, a sight that defies all logical explanation. Of all the chilling tales associated with this cursed oak, one of the most persistent and frightening is the legend of the phantom black pickup truck. Countless visitors who have lingered too long near the tree, especially after dusk, have reported the same terrifying experience. It begins with a pair of bright headlights appearing in the distance, seemingly coming down the road that leads to the tree. The vehicle gets closer and closer, its engine growing louder, until it seems like it's about to run them down. The truck is always described the same way, an old menacing black pickup, but just as it gets within a few feet, right when the visitor is bracing for impact, it vanishes. It doesn't turn, it doesn't drive past. It simply disappears into thin air, leaving behind only the sound of a roaring engine that quickly fades into the night. Some terrified witnesses claim they caught a glimpse of the driver, and what they saw was not human. They describe a shadowy figure with glowing red eyes, a spectral guardian of the tree who chases away anyone who gets too close. So, what happens to those who ignore the warnings? What about the people who mock the legends, or, even worse, try to damage the tree? The stories that follow these acts of defiance are what truly cements the tree's cursed reputation. There are numerous accounts of individuals who tried to cut down the tree, only to have their chainsaws inexplicably break or stall. Axe marks and saw gashes are visible on the trunk, evidence of failed attempts to bring it down. But the curse allegedly doesn't just protect the tree, it retaliates. People who have taken a piece of its bark or carved their initials into it have reportedly suffered from sudden, unexplainable accidents shortly after. We're talking about severe car crashes, debilitating injuries, and runs of catastrophic bad luck that defy all probability. Coincidence? Maybe. Skeptics would certainly say so. But the stories are so numerous, and the patterns so consistent, that the local community takes the curse very seriously. No one who lives nearby is willing to test it. They've seen and heard enough to know that some things are better left alone. Why does this single tree hold such a powerful and malevolent energy? What is the source of its curse? Some paranormal theorists and occult believers have a chilling explanation. They don't see it as just a haunted tree. They believe the devil's tree is something far more sinister, a marker, a gateway to another dimension. They speculate that the violent history and dark rituals performed there didn't just stain the land. They tore a hole in the fabric of reality. According to this theory, the tree stands as a sentinel at a doorway between our world and a much darker one. The strange phenomena, the phantom truck, the curse itself, these are not just residual hauntings. They are the active influence of entities from the other side, drawn to this weak spot. Disturbing the tree, then, isn't just an act of vandalism. It's like knocking on a door you should never, ever open. It's an invitation for whatever lurks on the other side to pay you a visit. And once that attention is on you, there's no telling what it might do. The tree is a warning in and of itself, a natural monument to a supernatural threat that locals have learned to respect and fear. So, if you ever find yourself on a quiet road in Bernards Township, New Jersey, and you see a lone, scarred oak tree standing in a field, you have a choice. You can drive by and dismiss the stories as folklore, or you can remember the warnings, remember the tales of stalled cars, phantom trucks, and terrible misfortune. Perhaps you'll feel a strange chill, or notice the unsettling warmth radiating from its base. Whatever you do, the legends urge you to show respect, keep your distance, and leave it in peace, because some doors are meant to stay closed. Thank you for joining us on this journey to one of New Jersey's most terrifying landmarks. Next time, we're taking a deep dive into America's deadliest haunted lake, a place where the water holds more than just secrets. Make sure you subscribe to Tales of the Dark, where every story is guaranteed to give you a new nightmare. See you then. Be careful where you swim. Some places hold secrets far darker and deeper than the water itself. Under the surface of this beautiful lake, an entire town lies drowned, and some locals believe its residents never left. They say, if you listen closely on a quiet night, you can still hear the church bells tolling from beneath the waves. Welcome to Lake Lanier, a massive man-made reservoir in Georgia, a place known for summer fun, boating, and fishing. But before it was a lake, it was a thriving community. In the 1950s, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers began a project to create a source of water and hydroelectric power for Atlanta. To do this, they had to flood an enormous valley, displacing over 1,000 people and submerging entire towns, farms, and even cemeteries. Homes, businesses, roads, and the graves of generations were swallowed by the rising water. The project was completed, but the past was not washed away. It was simply hidden. Divers who have explored the depths of Lake Lanier report an eerie, submerged world. Entire structures, like houses and bridges, are still eerily intact, standing silently in the murky darkness. Imagine swimming above what used to be a main street, with schools and churches just a few dozen feet below you. The remnants of a forgotten life are preserved in a watery grave. It's a chilling thought, but the stories surrounding this lake get much darker. Since its creation, Lake Lanier has earned a sinister reputation. It's considered one of America's deadliest lakes, with an unusually high number of accidents and fatalities. Hundreds of people have lost their lives here in bizarre and often inexplicable circumstances. Experienced boaters have crashed into unseen objects in open water. Strong, healthy swimmers have suddenly vanished without a trace, only for their bodies to surface days later, miles from where they were last seen. Authorities often attribute these tragedies to strong currents, underwater debris, or alcohol. But many who know the lake well feel there's something more going on. The stories from those who have survived a close call are even more disturbing. People report feeling an overwhelming sense of dread or panic for no reason. Some swimmers have described the terrifying sensation of being pulled underwater by an unseen force, a powerful grip they couldn't fight. Others have felt cold hands grabbing at their ankles from below, trying to drag them down into the depths. These encounters are often dismissed as panic or entanglement in submerged trees. But for those who experience it, the feeling is all too real. It feels like something in the water is actively trying to pull them under. The paranormal activity isn't just confined to the water itself. Fishermen out on the lake late at night have reported seeing strange figures standing silently in the shallows near the shore. When they try to get a closer look, the figures vanish into thin air. Are these tricks of the light, or are they the spirits of those who once lived on this land, still wandering their lost home? Could they be the ghosts of the many who have drowned here, now trapped in the lake forever? Perhaps the most famous legend of Lake Lanier is that of the Lady of the Lake. The story goes back to a car accident in 1958, a year after the lake was filled. Two young women, Delia Mae Parker Young and Susie Roberts, were driving home from a dance when their car veered off a bridge and plunged into the dark water. A year later, fishermen discovered a decomposed body near the bridge. It was identified as Susie Roberts, but the body of Delia Mae was never found. Ever since, people have reported seeing a ghostly figure of a woman in a blue dress, wandering aimlessly along the very same bridge where the accident happened. They say she appears lost, sometimes waving at passing cars as if trying to get help, before disappearing right before their eyes. Many fatal and near-fatal accidents have occurred on or near that bridge, leading some to believe the Lady of the Lake is a restless spirit, forever searching for a way out of her watery tomb, or perhaps an omen of the danger that lurks within the lake itself. The cemeteries that were submerged add another layer of horror to the lake's history. While the government attempted to relocate all the marked graves, many unmarked graves and family burial plots were simply left behind. They were consumed by the water, their headstones now covered in silt and algae. There is a deep-seated belief among some that these disturbed spirits are the source of the lake's curse. By flooding their final resting place, a deep disrespect was shown, and now, their anger manifests as the dark energy that seems to permeate the area. People have reported hearing disembodied voices and whispers rising from the water near where these old cemeteries are believed to be. The stories are endless. Boaters whose engines mysteriously die in the middle of the lake, leaving them stranded. Kayakers who feel their boats being bumped and rocked from below in perfectly calm conditions. The sheer number of strange occurrences and unexplained deaths has created a powerful folklore around Lake Lanier. It's a place where natural beauty collides with a dark and tragic history, a destination that attracts millions for recreation. Yet locals who grew up with the stories whisper warnings to be careful, to not swim alone, and to never, ever underestimate the water. Is it just a combination of dangerous underwater conditions and a morbid history feeding a legend? Or is there truly something supernatural at play? Are the ghosts of a drowned town reaching out from their watery graves? Whatever you believe, one thing is certain. Lake Lanier holds its secrets close. It is a stark reminder that sometimes, the most beautiful places hide the most terrifying truths. The town may be gone, but something beneath remembers, and it waits. Thanks for joining us on Tales of the Dark. If you enjoyed this story and want to explore more of the world's most chilling mysteries, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Every story is designed to give you a new nightmare. Up next, we journey into the deep woods to meet the smiling entity that terrifies witnesses worldwide. You won't want to miss it. Be careful. If you're ever alone, maybe driving down a deserted road late at night, and you see someone smiling at you from the total darkness, and that smile just looks wrong. Whatever you do, don't look back. This is a warning that echoes through decades, tied to encounters with a figure known only as the Grinning Man. They don't seem to see you so much as look through you. And then there's the smile. It's not a friendly smile. It's not a happy smile. It's a grotesque, impossibly wide grin that stretches from ear to ear, pulling the facial features into a nightmarish caricature of human expression. Witnesses consistently describe this feature with a sense of disbelief. They say the grin was far wider than any human mouth should be able to stretch, filled with teeth that were either too perfect or unsettlingly wrong. Some accounts say he appeared suddenly in their headlights, standing stock-still in the middle of the road, forcing them to swerve. Just the empty road and the pounding of your own heart. The psychological impact of these encounters was profound and long-lasting. It wasn't something people could just shake off. Many who saw the grinning man suffered from debilitating nightmares for weeks, even months, afterward. A common feeling was the sensation of being watched, even in the safety of their own homes. They couldn't shake the paranoia that those empty eyes were still on them. They were afraid of being ridiculed, of being told they were crazy. But when they did share their stories, often with paranormal investigators or in quiet, anonymous forums, the similarities were undeniable. But the reports haven't stopped. In fact, in our hyper-connected camera-everywhere world, they've just evolved. Drivers today still report seeing a tall, thin figure with a horrifying grin on desolate highways. He's not a haunting, he's an experience. A performance for an audience of one, and the price of admission is a piece of your sanity. So the next time you find yourself telling a scary story in the dark, remember the grinning man, because he might just be listening. Thank you for joining us on this unsettling journey. If you find these stories as fascinating as we do, make sure you subscribe to Tales of the Dark, because our next investigation will take us deep underground to uncover lost treasures guarded by the spirits of the dead. You won't want to miss it. A word of warning: some treasures don't want to be found, and those who go looking for them, well, let's just say they often don't return. For as long as there have been stories of hidden gold, pirate loot, and forgotten mines, there have been explorers willing to risk everything to find them. Across centuries, countless expeditions have set sail, venturing into uncharted jungles and forgotten caves, all driven by the promise of unimaginable wealth. But the history books are filled with their disappearances. Ships vanishing without a trace, entire search parties swallowed by the wilderness, leaving behind nothing but whispers and legends. The pursuit of treasure, it seems, has a dark side. This isn't just about getting lost. It's about something far more sinister. Stories that have been passed down for generations tell of the curse that clings to this hidden wealth. Tales of pirate crews that, upon finally uncovering their long-sought prize, descended into a violent madness, turning on each other until no one was left to claim the gold. We hear accounts of entire teams of excavators falling mysteriously ill, struck down by ailments doctors couldn't explain, just days after touching the ancient artifacts. Accidents, bizarre and improbable, seem to follow these expeditions home, plaguing the survivors and their families for years. The gold was found, yes, but it was never enjoyed. It brought only misery, as if the treasure itself was fighting back. One of the most chilling examples is the legend of the Lost Dutchman's gold mine, hidden somewhere in the Superstition Mountains of Arizona. The story begins in the 1800s with a man named Jacob Waltz, the Dutchman, who supposedly discovered a mine of incredible wealth. He guarded its location jealously, taking the secret to his grave. Since his death, countless treasure hunters have tried to retrace his steps, but the mountains have a reputation. Dozens have vanished without a trace within their canyons. Others have been found dead under mysterious circumstances, their bodies discovered miles from any known trail. Some who returned empty-handed spoke of feeling watched, of hearing disembodied whispers on the wind, and seeing shadowy figures just at the edge of their vision. They described an overwhelming sense of dread that forced them to flee, convinced that something ancient and malevolent guards that gold. Is it just the harshness of the desert, or is there truly a curse protecting the Dutchman's secret? Then there's the infamous Oak Island Money Pit in Nova Scotia. For over 200 years, this baffling, man-made pit has lured and frustrated treasure hunters, including historical figures like Franklin D. Roosevelt. The pit is an engineering marvel, protected by a series of booby traps, including intricate flood tunnels connected to the sea. Every attempt to excavate it has ended in failure, often with deadly consequences. Equipment malfunctions at critical moments, tunnels collapse unexpectedly, and lives have been lost. A local legend even carries a grim prophecy: 7 people must die before the treasure will be revealed. To date, 6 men have lost their lives in the pursuit. Those who have worked on the island report strange phenomena: tools moving on their own, eerie lights hovering over the swamp, and the unnerving feeling of not being alone. The money pit doesn't just hold a potential treasure. It seems to hold a deep, dark intelligence that actively resists being disturbed. Let's sail to the other side of the world, to the story of the Treasure of Lima. In 1820, as revolutionary armies closed in on Lima, Peru, the Spanish decided to evacuate a massive hoard of wealth. We're talking gold statues, silver bars, and jewels, loaded onto a ship captained by a man named William Thompson. But Thompson and his crew couldn't resist the temptation. They killed the Spanish guards, sailed to Cocos Island off the coast of Costa Rica, and supposedly buried the entire treasure. They were later captured, but only Thompson and his first mate survived, promising to lead the Spanish back to the loot. They managed to escape into the jungle and were never seen again. Since then, Hundreds of expeditions have descended on Coco's Island, spending fortunes and, in some cases, their lives. People have gone mad in the dense, disorienting jungle. They claim to have seen the ghosts of pirates guarding the treasure, their spectral forms warning them away. The island itself seems to be the treasure's greatest protector, a labyrinth of treacherous cliffs and impenetrable vegetation that has swallowed up all who try to steal its secrets. And what about the treasures that are found, but bring only ruin? Consider the Hope Diamond. This magnificent blue diamond has a long and storied history, and nearly every one of its owners has met with a tragic fate. From royalty like Marie Antoinette, who was beheaded, to wealthy socialites whose families were torn apart by suicide, financial ruin, and scandal. It was said that the diamond was stolen from the eye of a Hindu idol, and a curse was placed upon it to punish the thief and all who would possess it thereafter. Coincidence? Perhaps? But the pattern of misfortune is so consistent, so relentless, that it's hard to dismiss. The diamond now sits safely behind glass in a museum, its curse seemingly contained, but its history serves as a chilling reminder that some beautiful things carry a heavy price. These famous lost riches remain buried, scattered across the globe, waiting, but the attempts to recover them are a consistent tale of disaster and despair. We have first-hand accounts from modern-day treasure hunters who abandoned their searches after profoundly frightening experiences. One explorer, searching for a lost Spanish galleon off the Florida coast, claimed that every time his team got close to a promising sonar target, a freak storm would appear out of nowhere, forcing them back to shore. Another, looking for Viking gold in a remote Scottish cave, swore that strange, elongated shadows followed him home from the expedition, lingering in the corners of his house for weeks until he publicly renounced his search. They speak of a palpable sense of being unwelcome, a feeling that grows stronger the closer they get to their goal. It's a psychic warning, a final chance to turn back before it's too late. Maybe some fortunes are buried for a reason. Maybe they are offerings to ancient gods, or the cursed spoils of forgotten wars. Perhaps they are sealed away, not to protect the treasure from us, but to protect us from the treasure. And those who are arrogant enough to ignore the warnings, who disturb these sleeping fortunes, they pay the price. They become part of the legend. Another ghost story told around a campfire, another name added to the long list of the lost. This is the end of our series. We've looked at 5 more terrifying places, and 5 more warnings whispered from the shadows of history. But so many mysteries remain. The world is full of dark corners and forgotten stories, each one more unsettling than the last. Subscribe to Tales of the Dark, because next time, we're going to explore places even darker. Places where every story is guaranteed to give you a nightmare. Thanks for watching.